You are standing at the stove with an egg in your hand. It is plainly the cheapest good food left in the world, 30 cents, and inside it is everything a body needs. And you crack it into a hot pan, and in 90 seconds you have made it worse than it was. The white is brown and lacy at the edges and rubbery. The yolk is a pale, chalky, gray-green ball. You eat it because it is breakfast. And on the counter beside you is a carton of something that costs $4. Liquid egg, in a box, with things added to it, because someone told you it was better, and because, plainly, you had given up on the real thing. Now let me show you my kitchen. In my kitchen, the egg is not a small thing you rush through on the way to the day. It is the center of the meal. In my kitchen, an egg costs 30 cents and becomes something you would pay $8 for in a restaurant. A custard, a jammy yolk, a silken curd, a golden marinated jewel. And nothing was added. No cream, no gadget, no $4 carton. Plainly, the same egg you have in your refrigerator right now. The difference is not the egg. The difference is 14 small things nobody ever told you. My name is Kenji Takara. I am 81 years old, and I live in Okinawa, in the warm south of Japan. Beside me, as always, is my wife, Yuki. She is 78. She has cooked eggs for this family for more than 50 years, and she has never once ruined one. Not once. And I have watched carefully. She learned as a girl beside her mother, Kaoru, in years when an egg was precious, when a family might have 3 in a week, and to overcook one was not a small mistake but a real loss, the kind a mother remembered. Kaoru learned beside her mother before that. Plainly, when a thing is precious, you learn to treat it exactly right. That is what was passed down, and that is what I hand you today. In the next 25 minutes, I will give you 14 things, not tricks in the silly sense, real ones, each with honest science underneath it, and I will explain the science so that you own it forever instead of memorizing it. I will tell you the exact temperatures and the exact times. I will show you the Japanese ways you have never seen, the steamed custard, the golden marinated yolk, the rolled omelet. I will tell you honestly where each one goes wrong, and I will show you the real money, because let me say it plainly, and with more sorrow than anger. The egg is the last honest food in the store, and that is precisely why so much has been built to stand between you and it. Think of what has been sold to you: the carton of liquid whites at $4, the egg white patty, the breakfast sandwich in plastic, the powder. All of it is an egg, with something removed and a price added. And meanwhile, the real egg sits there at 30 cents, and you have been quietly taught that you cannot cook it well, that it needs help, that it needs a machine. A family that buys convenience eggs and breakfast food instead of eggs spends plainly $500, $600 a year on an ingredient that costs 30 cents. In Japan, we have a word for the shame of that waste, mattai nai, the feeling that everything has value. And a ruined egg, plainly, is a small tragedy that happens a billion times every morning. Today, we set it right. Before we go on, one small thing, and then I will not mention it again. Yuki and I have gathered these methods, the eggs, the temperatures, all of it, into a book at Kenji Takara.com for anyone who wishes to keep them in one place. That is all I will say of it. It waits there if you want it. Now, let us begin. So let me give you the first one, the single idea that everything else stands on. Because if you learn only this, every egg you cook for the rest of your life will be better. Here it is. An egg is not cooked by time. An egg is cooked by temperature. And an egg is the only food in your kitchen made of two different substances that set at two different temperatures. The white begins to firm at around 145 degrees. The yolk does not begin to thicken until around 158. That gap, those 13 degrees, is the entire art of the egg, and it is why almost every egg in the world is ruined. Because when you cook an egg fast and hot, you blow through both numbers in seconds, and by the time the white is set, the yolk is already dead and chalky. Plainly, the egg does not need a hot pan. It needs a low one, and your patience. Yuki cooks eggs at a heat that would embarrass a Western cook. So low it looks like nothing is happening. That is the first one. Stay with me. There are 13 more. Now let me explain the science properly. Plainly, because it is the whole foundation, and everything else follows from it. An egg is protein and water, and a protein, before it is cooked, is a long chain folded up tight into a little ball, floating separately in water. That is why raw egg white is clear and runny. When you add heat, those tight balls begin to shake and unfold, and once unfolded, they bump into each other and link together, forming a net. That net traps the water. That is why an egg goes from liquid to solid. It is called coagulation. Now here is the part that matters, and the part nobody tells you. If you keep adding heat past the point where the net has formed, the net does not stop. It keeps tightening. The proteins pull closer and closer together and squeeze the water out of the net, the same way you would wring a wet cloth. And a wrung-out egg is exactly what a rubbery white and a chalky yolk are. Plainly, you did not cook it too long, you cooked it too tight. The water that made it tender got squeezed out onto your plate, and the green ring, the gray-green skin on the yolk of a hard-boiled egg, that is not a mystery either. It is sulfur from the white meeting iron from the yolk, and it only happens with too much heat for too long. It is harmless, but it is a receipt. It is proof of overcooking, written in green. So, number 2, low heat, always, and take it off before you think you should. Because of carryover cooking, the egg is still cooking after it leaves the pan. Heat inside it continues to move for another 30 seconds or more. So a scrambled egg that looks perfect in the pan will be overcooked on the plate. Take it off while it still looks slightly underdone, glossy, wet, not quite set. Yuki lifts her eggs off the heat at the moment a Western cook would say they need 1 more minute. That 1 minute is the difference between silk and rubber. Number 3, stir constantly for small curds, or barely at all for large ones. It is that simple, and it is entirely your choice. Stirring breaks the protein net as it forms, so it never gets big. That is how you get the fine, creamy, custard-like scramble. Leaving it alone lets the net grow into large, soft folds. Neither is wrong, but most people stir occasionally, which gives them the worst of both. Big, tough curds and watery liquid between. Choose one. Plainly, choose it on purpose. Number 4, salt the raw egg and let it sit for 15 minutes before cooking. This one sounds absurd, and it is real. Salt gets between those protein balls and makes it harder for them to link tightly together. So a salted egg sets at a slightly lower temperature, and it sets more gently. It stays more tender and holds more water. And salt right before cooking, and you get the opposite. The salt sits in patches and draws water out and makes it weep. 15 minutes ahead, Yuki salts and cracks and beats, and then goes and does something else. That waiting is not laziness. That is the method. Number 5, You beat the eggs more than you think, and strain them. When you beat an egg badly, you leave ropes of white, the calice, those white cords that hold the yolk, and they cook into tough little strings. Beat until the color is completely uniform, no streaks of white or yellow at all. And for anything smooth, a custard, a rolled omelet, pass the beaten egg through a strainer. 30 seconds of work, and the texture becomes silk. This is the single most Japanese thing on this list, plainly, and it is why restaurant eggs feel different in your mouth. Number 6. For the boiled egg, start with boiling water, not cold. Everyone was taught to start eggs in cold water and bring it up. Do the opposite. Lower the eggs gently into water already at a boil, then turn it down to a bare simmer. Why? 2 reasons. First, control. You know exactly when the clock started, so the time actually means something. Second, the shell. A cold egg into hot water sets the outermost white instantly, and it grips the membrane less tightly, which makes it peel. Plainly, the egg you cannot peel was started in cold water. Number 7. The timings. And here is where I hand you the whole thing. From boiling water, at a bare simmer, with a large egg straight from the refrigerator. 6 minutes gives you a fully liquid, runny yolk. 7 minutes gives you the jammy yolk, the one that is set at the edge and molten in the center. This is the famous ramen egg, and it is, plainly, the finest state an egg can achieve. 9 minutes gives you a yolk that is set, but still bright orange and creamy. 12 minutes gives you fully hard, and past that you are simply making green rings. Yuki uses a timer. After 50 years, she uses a timer. Let that tell you something. Number 8. Ice water. Immediately, the moment the time is up. This is not optional, and it is not for cooling. It stops the carryover cooking dead, the thing we spoke of, that keeps cooking the egg after it leaves the heat. Without the ice water, your 7-minute egg becomes a 9-minute egg on the counter. And it does one more thing. It shrinks the egg slightly inside the shell and helps it release. 2 minutes in ice water, and then peel it under running water, starting at the fat end where the air pocket is. Now, a small thing Yuki and I have done for many years. We keep a little notebook by the stove, nothing but egg times. Because your eggs are not my eggs. A large egg and a jumbo egg are 30 seconds apart, and a cold egg and a room temperature one are more. 3 or 4 attempts, written down, and you will own the 7-minute egg forever, in your own kitchen. The template is in the resource at Kenji Takara. Com if you would like it, but truly, a scrap of paper taped inside the cupboard does the same. The noticing is the thing, not the paper. Number 9. Older eggs peel. Fresh eggs do not. This is honest science, and it explains the great frustration. A very fresh egg has a low pH inside, and the white clings ferociously to the inner membrane. As an egg ages, carbon dioxide escapes through the shell, and the white becomes more alkaline, and it releases. So plainly, save your freshest eggs for frying and poaching, where you want them to hold together, and use your week-old eggs for boiling. The egg that fought you was not your fault. It was simply too fresh. Number 10. For a poached egg, use a fresh egg, add vinegar, and strain off the loose white. A fresh egg holds its shape. An old one spreads into rags. The vinegar, a spoonful in the water, is acid, and acid helps the protein set faster, so the white grabs itself before it can drift away. And here is the trick nobody knows. Crack the egg into a fine strainer first, and let the thin, watery outer white drain away for a few seconds. That thin white is what becomes the ugly foam. Remove it, and you get a clean, round restaurant egg. And the water must be barely trembling, never boiling. A boil will tear it apart. Number 11. The Japanese rolled omelet, tamagoyaki, and the principle it teaches. It is beaten egg, seasoned with a little dashi, soy, and mirin, poured in thin layers into a low pan and rolled over on itself, layer upon layer, until you have a golden log of perhaps 10 thin sheets. Plainly, it is the finest demonstration of everything I have said. Low heat, no browning at all, thin layers, patience. A Japanese cook is judged on this one dish, and the reason it matters even if you never make it, it teaches you that an egg should never brown. Brown on an egg is not flavor, the way it is on meat. Brown on an egg is a mistake. Yuki's tamagoyaki is pale yellow all the way through, and it takes her 6 minutes, and it looks like something from a jeweler. Number 12. Chawan mushi, the steamed savory custard, and the ratio that unlocks it. This is the great gentle egg dish of Japan. Egg beaten with dashi at about 1 part egg to 3 parts dashi, strained, poured into a cup with a mushroom and a piece of fish, and steamed gently until it is barely set. A savory custard so soft, you eat it with a spoon. And the science it teaches is the last piece of the puzzle. Diluting an egg with liquid raises the temperature at which it sets and makes it far more forgiving. Plainly, a diluted egg is a patient egg. And the honest scope here, it must be steamed low, with the lid cracked, because if the steam is too fierce, the custard turns full of holes, like a sponge. Low steam, always low. Number 13. The marinated yolk and the ramen egg, the thing that makes a 30-cent egg into a jewel. Take your 7-minute egg, peeled, and let it sit in a mixture of soy sauce, mirin, and a little water. Say equal parts soy and mirin, doubled with water, in the refrigerator, for anywhere from 4 hours to 2 days. The soy is salty, and salt travels into the white, seasoning it all the way through and turning it a beautiful amber. Plainly, it is the same egg you already made, plus time in a bag. It costs perhaps 10 cents more, and it is what you pay $4 for on top of a bowl of ramen. Yuki keeps a jar of these going constantly, and I steal them from the refrigerator, and she pretends not to know. Number 14. Save the egg water and use the whole egg. When you have boiled eggs, that water is now full of minerals. Let it cool and give it to your plants. It is free fertilizer. And the shells, crushed fine, go into the garden soil for calcium, or into the compost. Yuki has never once thrown away an eggshell in 50 years. And if you have a lone yolk or a lone white left over, the white keeps a week in the refrigerator and goes into a soup or a marinade. The yolk, plainly, should go into a jar of soy sauce for a day, and then over hot rice, and you will not believe what has happened to it. Now the honest scope. What goes wrong plainly, and where I will not pretend. First, and most important, do not try all 14. You will feel clumsy and you will quit. Take one. Take the low heat. Do it for a week until you stop thinking about it. Then take the 7-minute egg. Habits, not heroics. Second, carryover cooking will humble you a dozen times before you believe it. Every one of us has stood there watching a perfect pan of eggs turn to rubber on the plate. The fix is to be brave and pull them early, and you will only learn that bravery by being wrong a few times. Third, Some of this needs the right pan. A thin pan has hot spots, and an egg finds every one. A heavy pan, low, is worth more than any technique, and now the safety, plainly, and I will not soften it. Raw and undercooked eggs can carry salmonella. That is real. It is rare, but it is real, and it matters most for the very young, the very old, anyone pregnant, and anyone whose immune system is weak. In Japan, we eat raw egg over rice routinely, but Japanese eggs are handled and sold under a system specifically designed for it, and I will not pretend that carton in your refrigerator is the same thing. So, plainly, if you want the runny yolk and you are in that vulnerable group, buy pasteurized eggs, which are treated for exactly this and are widely available. Everyone else, keep your eggs cold. Do not use a cracked one. Wash your hands after handling shells, and know that the risk is small but not zero. That is the honest sentence, and it is the whole of it. I will not tell you it is impossible, and I will not tell you to be afraid. Now, mottainai. Total use, nothing wasted. And hear how deeply these 14 things are mottainai. Because the egg is the most perfect small package of food on earth, and a person who cannot cook one wastes it every single morning. Not thrown in the bin, worse, eaten, badly, without joy, and the moment gone. That, plainly, is the waste that nobody counts. And the shells to the garden, and the water to the plants, and the lone yolk into the soy jar, and the 7-minute egg that becomes tomorrow's marinated jewel. Nothing about an egg need ever be lost, not one part of it, not one degree of it. That is the whole teaching, and these habits continue themselves. Learn the low heat, and it teaches you the carryover. Learn the 7-minute egg, and it hands you the ramen egg, which hands you the rice bowl. Each opens the next. After a month, you will not be following 14 rules. You will simply be a person who cooks eggs. That is all Yuki is. Now, the money? Let us count it plainly. An egg costs about 30 cents. A carton of liquid egg whites costs $4 to $5 and contains, plainly, less than $1 of egg. A frozen breakfast sandwich costs $3 and contains a third of an egg. A restaurant breakfast costs $15, and a family that eats breakfast out or from a box 5 days a week spends, plainly, $60–70 a week, over $3,000 a year for something that costs 30 cents and takes 4 minutes once you know these 14 things. Now count the second part. 2 eggs, cooked properly, over rice, with a marinated yolk. That is a real meal for under $1, and it is the meal that saves you from the telephone on the tired night. Plainly, an egg is the cheapest defense against ordering food that exists. That alone is worth $1,000 a year to a household. Real money, your money, from the cheapest thing in the store. So here is your task for this weekend. Just one thing, not 14. 1. This weekend, boil water. Lower 1 egg in gently. Set a timer for 7 minutes exactly and keep the water at a bare tremble, not a boil. At 7 minutes, into ice water for 2 minutes. Then peel it under the tap from the fat end and cut it in half and look at it. That is all. 1 egg, 1 timer, 7 minutes. When you see that yolk, you will understand everything I have said today. See for yourself. And then, tell me in the comments, how did your mother or your grandmother cook an egg, and what was the rule she had about it that you have never forgotten? Every family had one. A pan, a heat, A moment she knew by looking. Those small sentences are how cooking was carried for 1,000 years, mouth to ear, and they are one generation from gone. Here, right here, is where we remember them together. Write it down, share it. Let us gather the old wisdom, all of us, before it is lost for good. And next time, Yuki and I are going to take that 7-minute egg and show you the rice bowl it belongs on. How an egg, a bowl of rice, and 1 spoonful of a sauce you already have becomes the meal that has fed Japan on almost nothing for 100 years. If you wish to learn it, stay with us. Subscribe and walk this quiet old road beside us. Let me leave you, as always, with the whole thing in a single sentence. The white sets at 145, the yolk at 158, so keep the heat low, pull it off early, and the 30-cent egg will do the rest by itself.